5:31, I'm calling to order this workshop of the City Council of the City of Bandera. We're at 511 Main Street, Tuesday, September 28, 2021. All council members are present, the city administrator is present, the city treasurer is present, and the city secretary is present. I will announce to you and to you here in the room, Ms. James, that there has been a potential COVID exposure in our office. We found out today. An employee was positive. So erring on the side of caution, according to the doctor, those guys that were exposed for more than 15 minutes to this individual.
Well, should I go get a mask now since we didn't get the memo?
Yeah.
It just happened. We just found out.
I know, but you could have told us at the door to get a mask or
I
something.
wasn't at the door.
That's what she was talking.
Yeah, we need.
Here's the mouse back here.
Okay, let's recess for 3 minutes. Item 2 is the workshop. Item 8, discuss the fiscal year 21-22 budget.
Oh my gosh, I'm so sorry.
Item 1, discussion of utility fund and departmental expenses. We left off with the utility fund last week, which would be page
28 now. The new handout to be page 28.
Page 28. Okay, this is our revenue. And I will remind you again that the year-to-date actual revenue only reflects 10 months of actual revenue because of the way that our billing falls. David, did you all calculate the 10% increase in utility rates in this budget?
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you.
Sorry.
Jerry?
What did that amount come to? The total increase with the 10% in the water and the sewer and the 3.45% in trash pickup. What was the difference, increase, dollar-wise? I know it's 10%.
She's got a copy, she's gonna make,
I can't get my copy from back there. If you just want a broad overview or you want it broken down individually, Jerry.
Roughly 240,000.
Thank you. Yes, ma'am.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Commercial. Oh. And council, I would remind you too, or inform you, 50-3061, no, 50-30616 with wastewater commercial sewer outside. The giant increase we have in that line item this year is in revenue is due to the contract the city had with the OTX camp to dispose of some of their waste while the kids were at camp. It brought in about $70,000 or more. April, do you know the exact number?
I do not, I can get it though. You,
So I really do believe that this projection should be taken back down to not include that $70,000 or so, whatever it was, the exact number,
okay.
and stick with the roughly $10,000 in budgeted revenue that we've been budgeting, because this is an exceptional.
So you said remove $70,000?
They paid the city at least, at last I heard, $70,000 to dispose through.
Okay, I'm just questioning, I'm looking at the line item, and I see 12,000, how am I gonna take 12,000 out of? She said
30616
3050.
on page 28, wastewater commercial sewer outside.
30616.
So take 70
Okay.
grand off the 123?
Okay, thank you, I'm looking at the right item now.
I'm sorry.
If you look at the current budget, it's 9,837. The prior year was 8,902, and so on. Because of the increase produced by this contract with OTX, 93,203, the year-to-date actual is not reflective of what commercial sewer outside the city limits normally brings in. So I'm saying this 93 needs to come off by at least, needs to come down to 10 or 12,000.
Well, not only that, but then the 10% increase was,
Which line?
that was included in the 10% increase calculation.
Absolutely.
Page 28, 306.
30616.
Yes, Jerry.
I'd like to state that, we didn't receive this until around noon time today, and I've been working through a lot of it ever since then, spending the afternoon, and I'm just not comfortable. I've had enough time to study any of it.
Well, unfortunately, we have to go through it as much as possible. Council, Thursday morning, we'll be having the public hearing on utility rates, and then, but wait, Jerry, let me finish, please, before you start to shake your head.
Yeah, except I was talking
And then you
about
can
it.
adopt the budget, and then we can come back and continue to study it. This has been a strange budget season. With vacations and illnesses, it's just not been conducive to getting this thing pumped out the way it should have been done. We just didn't have the time. This is where we are, this is the limit by statute. It's got to be filed with the county by 5 o'clock on Thursday afternoon. Yes, Jerry?
We had the same problem last year. We had to rush at the very end, so I'm not sure what the solution is, except to try and get this stuff to us much sooner, and then maybe we need to consider starting earlier next year. Because this is the same situation we were in last year. We had to go ahead and pass it without reading it or knowing what's in it. Sound familiar? It's very disappointing. The most important time of the year, and we do this stuff.
Well, if council
And it's
were-
not like I don't put time into this stuff. I put hours and hours, so I'm sure everybody, I'm not saying I'm the only one, but to work off partial information, and then have to be contacting the administrator throughout the day today to get some of the answers, and he done a great job responding, so I'm not saying anything about the administrator himself, but I don't know why it's like this stuff just gets blown off like it's not that big a deal. Like I say, to me, it's the most important time of the year.
Would council agree for line item 50-30616, that be taken down to $12,000 instead of 123, because I believe we do that's a much more accurate prediction of where we would be.
Down to 12,000? What happened? Okay.
It's requested budget is now 123,028, but it's not based on real numbers.
Okay.
I'm fine with 12,000 as a projected
And-
budget.
Council, this is the first time I've looked at this too, so.
So we should be 12 over.
Actual,
I beg your pardon?
no,
No,
because we're reducing
We're
from
70.
$123,028 to
yeah, okay.
12,000.
So a little bit above the year before, or our current year,
Yeah.
current budget.
Yeah, because
Yes,
of the 10%.
So, so the 70,000 you mentioned, was that a one-time payment that they paid to us?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, all right, thank you. And then that's to finish that conversation. I'd like to change it if nobody has anything else on that one. Change the topic. Okay, so if you scroll down the first section, about 4 or 5 lines up, garbage fees, residential, garbage fees, commercial. That's the revenue. Where is the expenditure to that? Like, where's the corresponding expenditure?
I'm sorry, which one are you looking at, Tom?
The garbage fees, residential, commercial, I found the revenue.
Okay, on the very last page is the expenses.
Like the very, very last, because there's a lot of
Page 36.
expenditures.
Yes.
Okay. Oh, there it is. Okay, thank you.
Yes, Jerry.
I probably figure it out with more time, but the total expenditures, why did we drop about 520 grand? I mean, that's a good thing, but I'd like to know where that came in.
I'm sorry, where are you looking?
Total expenditures, year to date,
Mm-hmm.
1.1. We budgeted 1.6. The year before, well, current, before was 1.5.
So we've
So
got
we've
400
dropped about 400,000 from even,
No, Jerry, we have $460,000 in the, are we talking about this year's budget?
He's
Yeah.
asking, if I may, Jerry,
yeah,
the difference between the current budget
Right.
and the year-to-date actual.
That's
Why
right.
are we under? Where did we?
yeah, running low compared to,
Our expenses are under what was
What was
budgeted,
budgeted.
which is a good thing.
yeah, and I said that,
Our revenues exceed budget, which is a good thing. So if you look at this $460,815 as of today, now this is not a year-end budget, that we won't get that until December, as if we have $460,815 in the bank to the good on the utility side.
right. That's what I said to begin with. It's in the right direction, but you still want to know why you have a change like that, whether it's to the positive or negative. That's all.
May I?
Mhm.
Is there some project or something, I guess we would just have to go through and look through the expenditures to see where the differences are.
Yeah.
Vehicle replacement is one. Utilities, I don't know what that line item is. There's another $5,000. Line maintenance under budget. So there are several expense line items that
Yeah,
I'm just
yeah,
eyeballing. Salary,
I didn't know if they might already know
geez,
where it's coming from.
I mean, I'm just kind of,
I mean, you could hit that line.
overtime, look at that, Jerry.
Oh, I know, well, I'm gonna talk about that a little bit. That's big improvement on overtime.
Yeah, we've got 5,000 budgeted for the telephone, we've used 767, but we had 25,000 budgeted for utilities, we spent 34. So that one's out about, so these are all things that have to be corrected before we can actually approve a final amended budget in December.
That's one. So. That's water department.
And remember too, these are not, as of August 31st, our revenue still comes in September for utilities that we billed in August, and our expenses don't all get paid in August that were accrued in August. So it's
It's flowing.
yeah, we don't get real honest to goodness hard numbers until December. And if you have your August 31st revenue versus expenditure report, it'll actually give you the percentages that the actual is over or under the budgeted.
Mine doesn't.
This is not an budget versus actual, this is a budget worksheet.
Oh,
But your budget versus actual that you get at the end of each month will give you the percentages. Yes, Darcy?
What are the immunizations? We never paid for them before, and then this year we spent $648 on them. 501-3600. For what
The
exactly?
Public Works Department, they all had to get, what was it? Some vaccination that they had to special order that the health department recommended they all get, so
Like Hep B or something like
something
that?
like that. I don't remember exactly what it was, but it was for everybody in Public Works.
And we didn't make anything like that mandatory or anything.
No, It was a recommendation because of something that happened. I can't even remember right for a second, but they didn't have them, so the urgent care ordered them, and then they gave them to everybody that was going down them.
Suzanne,
Yes, ma'am.
so the salaries that we're budgeting, how many positions are in the utility department that we're budgeting for?
We are budgeting for Public Works Director, we don't have. The supervisor, the foreman, and 7 on the ground, I do believe. Is that correct?
8,
Hmm?
I think 8.
8 on the
8.
ground, plus the 2 supervisors, plus the Public Works Director?
No, that includes, I think, the 2 supervisors. Doesn't include the public works.
Here we go.
Total, all I know is I think we have currently 8 total. Is that correct?
Yes. 8 plus the director is 9, so, yes.
Right.
Oh, so the supervisor and foreman is included in the 8?
Yes.
Okay,
We have 8 and a Public Works Director. Okay,
Yes,
I knew there were 9 somehow or another.
thank you. And so,
Yes, sir.
I know our budget is going down for salary. The 145 where we budgeted last year, 157.5.
What page are you on, I'm sorry?
30.
The
Right at the
first-
top of 30.
First line item.
Budgeted a lot more. Over 2,000.
I mean, it just seems like it keeps coming down. I mean, to me, it's not fiscally responsible to project a budget for next year based on a half-staffed this year and last year. So, I mean, I get the fact that we don't know where we're going with the survey and stuff, so we may have that conversation and adjust it in an amendment, but I don't think that, I mean, we know it's gonna be more than that. At full staff.
Well, this is this is 1/3 of the public works, of the administrators, which would be 36,000, is a quarter of that. 1 second, we've got
I hate that math.
Public Works Director spread out over 4 departments, and he's at 60, so that'd be 15,000, it's that.
That's odd.
That's 51,000 of 145.
So it could
And
have
remember,
been
this is 1/4 of all the salaries of the department, it's not the entire department.
The top end of Public Works is 65, the top end,
Is it Director for 65?
that's the top end, yes ma'am.
That's fine with
Have
me, so
trouble.
that's 150. So that's 100 and,
Plus the certification.
Tony, is this, oh, sorry.
yes, Jim.
Could I get a copy of that salary increase, the sheet that has all the employees on there? I didn't bring mine from the last time. Thanks.
Sorry.
Thank you.
That's the new one that came out to you on Monday. Or today, I'm sorry, it came out today. But remember, 145,000 is only 1/4 of the salaries because of the way it's split up through all of the departments.
Well, but, man,
Yes, ma'am.
still, I don't know that that answers Tony's question about why the decrease from last year's budget request to this year's budget request, unless those percentages are somehow being split differently this year.
Did it
Does
increase
that make
somewhere
sense,
else?
Tony?
Yes.
Because I don't know if your
It did not
question was
answer my
really
question.
answered.
It did not logically answer my question, no, and you explained it perfectly.
Can you answer that?
Because, so basically, I mean, we haven't had hardly any increases, right? And if we've got so many positions that we're filling, the budget should be as if those were filled. And whether we used it or not. And it appears as though that whether we used it or not, we are decreasing to 145 in this department for this expenditure. And I'm not sure why it went down to 145
And if you
when
look,
no salaries has really changed, except for increasing.
Wastewater did the same thing.
I know, but again, it
Why?
doesn't.
Well,
yeah.
with increases, I'm sorry.
We
shouldn't see
currently
that.
have 2 vacancies, they're correct. Currently have 2 vacancies as laborers and 1 Public Works Director vacancy, so.
But they should be budgeted for.
Right.
Yes, they are. And so the total for all of the positions at their current salary right now, or their current rate, is $137,956.34. That's what I came up with by splitting each department and doing the percentages of the employees and everything. So that's what I came up with. These numbers right here reflect a 5% increase.
137 to 145.
Okay. I personally
Yes, Tony.
don't, it probably doesn't even warrant a discussion at this point, but I think that we do need to get into this when we do talk about employee hierarchy, salary range, what we, how many employees we're budgeting for the city total in all departments, and what the max is we're paying for them, and if the managers give an increase to that max, then we should be prepared to be able to budget for that by authorizing the manager to give those merit increases, right? So I don't know if we can solve this now and here. I would like to have actual numbers and we can do, and I'm comfortable with doing an amendment at that time. But it definitely warrants the discussion.
May I, and I keep saying this, and I don't know, probably want to shoot me by now.
That's too confusing.
We have October, November, December before we have to actually file. We can amend this proposed budget at any time. We can see where we land at the end of the year, amend our budget, and move forward. This, I agree with you, I don't believe these are accurate numbers.
I think because we, if I may respond to, is that okay? I think it's very difficult because we do tend to run half-staff in our utility department and our Department of Public Works, and I think it's hard to realize what our actuals are versus our budget, because we don't ever seem to be full staffed in that area. So I get that, but I think, with David on board, I think we can get a better handle on this.
Excuse me, may I have a?
Oh, can you reach it?
Got it.
Dad?
Yes, Rebecca.
The other thing I'm not sure about, Tony, is if last year we budgeted for more employees than we are budgeting for this year. So that's a question. Without that kind of breakdown, it's just hard to determine, because I still don't really understand why.
Well, even from the time I was on council before, it's been a struggle. And I've preached employee hierarchy, job descriptions, match the salary ranges.
With the
Budget
position, not
budget
with
for the
person,
top
right?
range
Right.
per position, know what we have, know what, know that, and that's what should be going in the budget. And then if we run half staff,
No,
then we
Rebecca
run half
finished.
staff.
And so the other thing I didn't know is if, more of this is coming from parks, which would have been in the general fund. So if some of this salary was allocated to the parks department, then that might explain the decrease that we're seeing here in water and wastewater. But,
Parks and streets.
parks and streets, right? So,
Yeah, this is 1/4 of the salary. Dorothy had her hand up.
So I'm looking also at the 2018, 2019, then the 19 and the 20, and I'm glad those are there because, we see that another almost $18,000 difference, and that could be that we weren't fully staffed, and so I could see that being a shortfall at the 145, also going, hey, we probably won't be fully staffed there, but like you said, Tony, we shouldn't be betting on that. We should always budget at the highest end, everybody getting paid at the top end of their range. So we definitely need to find out what those finite numbers are, and we shouldn't be playing this,
Guessing
well, we can amend, and we can amend. I don't want to do that, and I don't want to see that next year. I want to see actual numbers, and I want to see people held accountable, and I expect to see that, because I don't want to do this next year.
I'm so sorry.
That's Jerry.
Referring to Tony's comments, and apologize for directing, but we also were asking for those same things last year, and how many years later, and we're still trying to get
Excuse
this.
me, please, Rebecca, would you take over?
Yes.
How many years later are we now since you requested, Tony, and we're still dealing with it, trying to get it done. So I hope we do. I have faith in the new administrator. He's gonna take care of it.
Yes, sir.
Go right ahead,
Yeah,
please.
I will, check our budget against, and allocated, personnel in each section, and the current salary range of each person. Like I said, right now we have 2 laborers, we're down, and a public works director. One of the challenges I'm having right now, I'm doing interviews for the public works director. The top range, as I said, is 65,000, and they're saying that I just can't come here for that. So 2 or 3 of them, 3 or 4 of them said at least 75 is what they were looking for. So if you're looking at 75 as a baseline, then you got their certifications on top of that, $1,000, $2,000, maybe $2,000 or $3,000 on top of that for a public works director. Now, I can hire somebody tomorrow. I got a whole stack of resumes, but I believe you want me to get a good competent person, a good qualified person, somebody who's gonna, because we have major projects coming up. I'm singing to the choir. The relocation of the wastewater treatment plant and so forth, and the water projects we have going on. I need somebody here that's certified, that's competent, and that's willing to stay here for a while, not just pad their resume and move for 12 months to the next location. So, and that's what I've explained to everybody that's come, why you want to come here, and so forth and so on. And they're like, I love to come, but they're looking at 75 range. So if that's the case, Yeah.
So are we budgeted for that then in that case?
No, the top range is 65.
Okay,
60 to 65 is what the range is on the job description.
so
So,
I feel like we're all having the same difficult time understanding why the requested budget for 21-22 is significantly lower than the 2021. And just keeping it simple, looking at the salary line item for water and wastewater. I realize there's salaries
More to the
coming out of,
story.
sorry?
I realize there's more to the story.
Right,
Yeah.
and then in addition to the reduction that we're looking at, if you're saying we need to budget more for the qualified person,
This is the
then
time to
it's
tell
very
us.
confusing, right? You okay?
Yeah, it's just hot. I don't know why it's for color that fits for me.
I think we're all trying to make sure that we have enough money budgeted for everything that we need.
right, I understand it. That makes
Well-
sense. So, I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, I didn't mean to interrupt. Go ahead.
We will double check these numbers and make sure that everybody's salary is correct. From my spreadsheet, I believe that these numbers are current and correct. I just think that our budgets before were overestimated, and this is, an educated guess is what it is. And so, and each person is it divided into 4 different, 25%. So you have to include parks, streets, water, and wastewater for the total salaries.
Parks and Streets went up.
Tony had her hand up.
So I hear what you're saying, but we really are just keeping it simple. And if you look just from one number to the next and you follow the logic that says that we're not fully staffed and we know that we need to be fully staffed, if the number this year budgeted is less than the number last year budgeted, apples to apples, this department, unless for some reason 2018 and 19 did not have the same percentages you're talking about, or 1920 didn't have the same breakdown percentages you talked about, then what you're saying doesn't necessarily matter. Because we are still talking about the same percentage of the budget, and we're looking at apples and apples and apples in this little cart right here, where the percentage goes up when we didn't use that much when we weren't fully staffed. So why would we budget for less because we are wanting to be fully staffed?
Right.
So it's just that plain, simple logic. And then just to answer that, so the reason I actually had my hand up was to talk to what David was talking about, if I may continue. So in your interviews and your conversations, is it typical for cities that they're coming from, that these people that you're interviewing, that they're looking at the salaries separate from any benefit package that we have, like we pay full insurance, all of those things are already, they're already getting those, so they are looking at salary, so.
That's not, they're getting, they're
So
getting
presenting
those.
it like
Every
that with a
city-
cute little cherry on top makes no difference.
Right, I'm not saying, every city is not at 7% for a PMRS retirement, but
Yeah.
a lot of them are either 6 or 7%, so that would be the difference. Some of them are certified or B or C certified. They have the higher certifications and they want equivalent compensation for their knowledge. Some of them been in the business for 20, 30 years, they're willing to move here and and that they want to stay here, but they're just saying that the salary range is too low.
So based on where you see us on our financial side, I mean, do we have that wiggle room? Would you recommend increasing it? And what would you recommend increasing it to? And then I also, it's not, I get the fact that you're about to recommend somebody probably making more than you are.
Right. And
And so if you recommend a salary for somebody that reports to you to get more than you do to recruit, yes, that makes your job easier, because then you have a competent Department of Public Works director that will run the department and make your job easier, so you don't have to run both anymore. But in the big picture, we as a council need to be looking at the fact that you're asking him to recommend an increase at this day and age for something that's, he's getting all the responsibility and getting paid less. and I don't know
And
if
that'll
that's
be for
right.
2 department heads making more than him.
2 department
I'm
heads?
sure.
Oh, 2 department heads.
Okay, so that's the elephant in the room, it's already been addressed, all
Okay,
right?
alright.
Y'all hired me to do a job, I came in at this salary, and I understand that at this point. However, I wanna be completely honest, and yes, that would bother me. The department head is making more than I am when ultimately the buck stops here, you know what I'm saying?
Right,
I have 22 staff members to be responsible for, and they have a department of 5 or 6. So, however, if we're able to get where, to where we need to be, to answer your question, yes, I would recommend 75,000. That way we can get somebody good in here that knows what they're doing, that's qualified, competent, and, nothing's guaranteed as far as them staying, but, we are definitely competitive at that point, when you put it at that range, and we can draw some good, qualified, competent people, attract and retain good quality people. So, 75 is the base level with 2 or 3 certifications, you're talking about 78,
right.
some around in there somewhere.
So if we were to do that, does our budget support increasing the workers as well? Because we are clearly undercompensating at the level that the guys are in that department, because they've been without a raise for quite some time, significant raises, and they've really been stepping up in a case. So can that budget handle all of these increases in that area and department based on, I know you're putting you on the spot.
Yes,
there
ma'am.
with this.
My short answer is yes,
Okay.
but it can be targeted and incremental. Everybody don't have to get a 5% across the board blanket raise, you know what I'm saying? That's
I agree
just-
with that, yeah.
It should be based on merit and could be targeted, but at the top, to get a good leader in here, answer that question would be yes. If we're sitting at 50,000 surplus in the water system, then we can invest that money back into our staff members, ensure that we retain, attract good quality people, and it'd be an investment, I'll call it capital investment, you know what I'm saying, human investment. We're doing our roads and streets and water and infrastructure, but another investment is in your people. So, sorry, I'm sorry.
No,
That's all right.
you go ahead, you've got the floor.
Yes, sir.
I'm not interrupting. If you're finished?
No, yes, sir, I'm finished.
Okay. I look at things a little bit different, obviously, but I was looking at numbers and looking at them a little bit differently. Just looking at the longevity, 2.5%. The total increase per hour, burden per hour, is $10.80 per hour. With the 5% merit raise increase, the additional burden is $21.60 per hour. That comes to a total of, with the longevity and the merit raise, of $32.40 more per hour. That equals, if you look at those total hours, that equals about $85,000 more per year. That doesn't include the benefit increase, and I'll get back to you on that. I'd asked you, how much of an increase are we seeing dollar-wise with that increase in the longevity and the all benefits, not just the medical? What's that gonna run
Jerry,
us?
that's broken down on you.
Huh?
It's broken down here, the city portion, the second line.
No, the amount of increase over last year is not broken down.
Oh, okay, I'm sorry, I thought you looked at what.
The amount of increase, that's what I'd emailed you about earlier.
Right, and it was 3%, remember what I said, was 3% increase over last year.
That was just healthcare. I'm talking all benefits. I'm talking Social Security, SSI, and everything else. There's gotta be more than 3% increase.
Sorry.
Okay. Okay.
Yes, I didn't get that email this afternoon.
Oh, no, that's okay. I'm not putting you on the spot, I hope. I'm just saying, that was what I was after earlier.
Okay,
So that's still an unknown, but just the salary increase alone, like I say, is gonna run us about $85,000 realistically. And then, looking at overtime, I'll compliment, you don't get the credit for it, but I'll compliment the staff. Tremendous decrease in overtime compared to last year. We were running 50-some thousand, I think, total in overtime last year. I think we're at around 26,000 in overtime for this year. Still a lot of room for improvement. The biggest reason for that decrease in overtime, I feel, was due to the previous council decreasing or putting the department heads on salary instead of hourly, and then I think they cracked down a little bit too, or tightened up on the other overtime, but we still have a tremendous amount of overtime, which I know we've got a lot of reasons for it, so I'm not saying it isn't justified, but it's still things that we have to look at. Because we, like I say, we still have $26,000 out there. We've got some employees, and Public Works is where the majority, by far the majority is at, and that's where you'd expect it too,
Right.
due to their hours and what they have to cover and everything. But we've got some employees, as much as 400 hours per year overtime, and other ones kind of close to that. And then we've got other ones that are only running at, I don't know, even 50 hours on some of this. I looked over all the overtime and everything, and once again, I do want to stress I want to compliment the improvement that was made. But if you look at all that, without even looking at the increase in benefits, I just don't know how we can keep affording it. That's all.
May I answer that? For one thing, these, COVID aside, snowpocalypse aside, when everybody was on duty for days on end, the licensed personnel have to be on call and on duty and respond on weekends to check the wells and check the wastewater plant and all those different things. So your licensed, higher paid personnel are gonna be the ones who are responsible for those things after hours and on weekends. So that, I think, would explain why they're getting that particular amount of overtime.
But when you see a situation like that, you start looking at, okay, there are several ways you can approach those situations. One is, do I hire another person, primarily to avoid the overtime, and the additional cost increase in the benefits due to that? Or do I look at adjusting hours, using the people in a different fashion from what they're being used now, such as if they're going to be working that weekend, on the average they're working 6 to 8 hours on that weekend, then you look to give them a day off during the week. But that's still a tremendous amount of money. But I'm feeling a lot better about it because it is about half of what it was last year.
Thank you. Tony?
Did we ever find out what the TWC unemployment insurance increase was about? Because if we look at current budget, it's $28.50, and then year-to-date is only $8.22, and then I remember we talked about this in one of our other workshops, and you said it was based on points, that it went up a big percentage, but we didn't know why.
It did go up, but it's not going up as much as we thought. And it's only based on the first $9,000 of the employee's salary.
Based on what again?
The first $9,000 of the employee's salary.
Okay.
Rebecca?
But I thought I heard that,
I'm sorry, Tony.
it's okay. No, it's okay, I did pause, but it was kind of a continuation of that. But I thought we had talked, when we talked about before, maybe I misunderstood, but it had to do with, like, legal things, like something going on with our claims and our,
Yeah,
something,
you were saying
our
0.3%.
specific city, and that we see an increase in that because of the claims that we've had and the different things. Did we ever find out that?
It is, it's for the unemployment claims. Yes.
Okay, so the increase was because of that.
Yes.
It was confirmed. Okay, it was 3%.
I know, but I
Rebecca,
just
go
didn't
ahead.
hold my hand up for the whole 10 minutes.
Okay, go ahead.
So, can somebody refresh my memory if I lost something? But I thought that the increase that we had discussed and agreed on for the employees was just the merit salary of 5%. I don't remember the longevity being for anyone other than those specific people in the marshal's department that was addressed by ordinance. So did this get added in through consensus, or?
It's been there, I'm sorry, it's been there the whole time.
Yeah, and I just did look back at the previous worksheet, but I'm confused because I thought that what we had discussed was that we agreed on the 5% merit to be distributed by the department heads, but I don't remember agreeing on the longevity
So
necessarily.
I remember discussing that that if we're gonna do it for one department, we should do it for all. But I don't remember deciding which way, whether to take it away from one department or adding it to others, but.
Would you let David answer that question, please?
Yes.
Sorry. We currently have language for our attorney to bring to the council. This is just to give you all the numbers and to let you know what it would be in the event that you decide to pass it in the future. But right now, the ordinance or the minutes is specifically for the marshal's department. So when we spoke last time, I mentioned about considering
Okay.
across the board.
Okay.
But there was no, you're right, ma'am, there was no consensus of that, okay, we're gonna do it. And
Right.
in fact, I think you were opposed and said 7.5% was too much, and you didn't think that's gonna be acceptable.
So that's why I raised my hand right when Jerry started talking. So I didn't hold my hand up that whole time, but because it occurred to me I don't remember us making that decision. And so just to finish up, that 2.5 is not budgeted for, correct? Just the 5% merit is budgeted for.
Right, and
Okay.
just a recommendation to the council.
Thank you for your patience, Darcy.
Absolutely.
Darcy?
Anything for you, ma'am. By the way, your earrings are awesome, and I really like your shoes, David.
Thank you.
You're welcome. I may not get another chance to say that. So, I have a few things, if y'all will indulge, because I try to come up with solutions and think outside the box. So this is kind of everything lumped in together. So, I think that I do, at this point, after listening to what David had to say about the Public Works Director, I think that we should probably increase it up to $75,000. I also think that, I understand what you're saying about somebody making more than you, and that, when you're supervising, trust me, I get the same thing. We have people that get paid more than me and don't supervise anybody, and I supervise the staff, so it's frustrating. But in doing that, one big thing for me is that it would decrease costs for repairs to things that we can't really afford to repair, because if you get a good public works director, they can fix things themselves. They'll teach the other guys how to fix things. They should be able to come up with solutions like what Jerry was saying about overtime. We could avoid fines and stuff like that from the water issues that we've seen. Also, I think we absolutely have to do a 5% increase, and I think that it being based on merit is the way to go, for sure. The increase was tallied for us at $54,399.24, and that's at the max of 5% for everyone, and it's not gonna be that. And all of those things keep us competitive with other places, and it's not just gonna be other cities, because when you're looking for a job, you're not just looking at the city of Bandera and the city of Kerrville or whatever. You're looking for any job that's gonna be competitive for those wages that you're looking for. Actions that I have to counterbalance potential financial burdens would be to remove the automatic 5% raise for the marshal's department that they get yearly. I know we have to do that for next year because it's in our minutes, but we don't have to do it for the next year.
That's not what it is exactly.
Okay.
It's 2.5.
But that's okay.
If it was 5% and it was every year, it would save us up to $14,485.01. So if it's half of that, it's $7,000. So
Can I just tell you real quick?
Sure.
If I understand correctly, it's 2.5 and it's every other year based on the higher year?
It's the 3% the first year, and then 2.5% every other year
Okay.
After that.
after that.
But it is significant.
yeah, and I don't think it should be an automatic thing anyway. I don't care if it was a 0.5%. It shouldn't be automatically given. So that's a savings at whatever that's gonna be, cause I didn't do the math. And we need to change how longevity pay is done, shouldn't do it every year for everybody, cause just cause you last a year, you shouldn't be rewarded. Anybody can do a year hanging upside down. I think it should be done after 5 years instead of 1. And that it could be done even at a rate of about, I would say $500 annually. And you could give it to them on the first paycheck in November, almost like a Christmas bonus. Instead of doing like $5 per check, which I believe is what they get now.
That's Texas, it's $4 per month. If you wanna go back to the general law, it's $4 per month, multiplied times the years, so.
So that saves $75 per employee by doing it that way per year. So when we multiply that by 22 employees, you know, that's a savings, and that's at giving them $500. So every year. After 5 years, an employee has a lot more education behind their belt. They're better at their job. They may want to move up or even go to different departments. Of course, you don't have that after a year. And we're actually paying for longevity. We're saying, hey, we appreciate you. They're saying, hey, I appreciate you, and they're staying for those 5 years. And we don't pay all that well at looking at everything that everybody makes here. We have 4 employees that make $14 an hour. We've got 6 people that work for the city. The city's supposed to be a good job. We've got 6 people that make under $17 per hour. And the medical and dental costs, the increase of 3% is not a big increase.
Medical and dental don't go up. They stay the same. They're a solid number all the way through.
Well, the cost to the government, the cost to the city goes up.
No, ma'am. It's a flat rate. It does not go up. What goes up is your Social Security, your TML, and your
I think each year it gets renegotiated and the
Yeah,
price
there's no way it
goes up.
doesn't go up.
Yeah,
We
went up
discussed it in
3%
great
this year.
detail.
3% this year.
well, but okay. Correct me just a second, Jane.
It's negotiated once a year, and it's a flat rate for the year, but at the end of the year,
could
it goes up
potentially-
again, and that's the reason Jill presented to us that she looks for other providers to see if they're competitive, and she does that on her own.
I misunderstood what you
Okay.
said. I thought you said because if we increase the salaries, the insurance will increase. It will not increase. Okay, cool. Jane, you got a
Has
comment?
anyone ever found in the ordinance where that's stated about the marshals?
It's not in the, I'm sorry,
David?
it's actually not in the ordinance. We found the minutes where it was stated. It's not in the ordinance, it's not a city policy or anything, so.
How long ago was it?
2013. So, that's part of the language I'm bringing back to the council to that fact.
Rebecca?
I can tell you from experience that each year at budget season, the marshal presents it as a request, so it's been approved by council. Or not, I'm not even saying it's been approved every year, I can't speak to that, but that's how it's
I thought
been.
I'd heard the word ordinance, that it was.
I thought I had heard that as well also.
Gary?
I'd just like to say, or ask actually, and I truly am asking, where in this town can you go and get $14 an hour? And that's only a couple employees that are getting that. Most of them are getting much better than that. But without benefits even, where can you go and get $14 per hour in this city?
Burger King, Sonic.
No, you can't.
Okay.
No, I know. I know the manager up there. No, that's not true. And then throw on the benefits on top of it. I mean, for example, just without knowing what the difference is between last year and this year, I mean, for that $14 an hour, we're looking at a total of $16,000 in benefits per year. So, once again, somebody tell me where you can go and get $14 per hour. And I'm not saying that's a great living. A lot of people at that wage may need to work another job even. A lot of us have done that. But, once again, we're looking at our local economy and where can you get $14 an hour? and then throw the benefits on top of that, and that blows anything out. We have the most problem with employees as far as finding employees in public works. We've had very little difficulty replacing the in-house staff. We've had very little difficulty replacing in-house staff. It's been public works has been our biggest issue. And we've been down there the longest, so. I can't, without a salary,
they can go to
even
the
a
county.
salary survey,
They
I'm
can go to
not,
the county and make more than $14 an hour
okay, we'll go.
with benefits. I'm not going, I'm just saying you asked
Go.
where.
Yeah, but that's another government,
Okay.
that's not a business.
I'm answering the question.
And you were out of order, by the way.
It's a
I was still
workshop.
talking.
Are you finished?
What is time? Continue.
I'm done.
Rebecca had her hand up
I'm
first.
not trying to pick on your comment, but I do hear from you, we gotta increase these guys' salary. And then I hear, what are we doing paying them this much? So I'm not sure what,
When did I say that? I never said we have to increase these.
I'm sorry, I thought I
No,
heard
I've
you
always been
say.
I've been against it, except for public works, I said.
I'm speaking
Public Works,
specifically about public works, which you just were in your last comment too. So that's why I'm sorry, I'm really not trying to be disrespectful, I'm just hearing conflicting.
Well, you
Arguments
just give your
and-
ideas instead of attacking my ideas. How
I'm
about
not
that?
attacking
All right,
anybody.
that's enough.
I've
We're
said,
discussing public works salaries.
No need to
No
yell.
arguing back and forth.
No, you
can
need to yell at me.
Address the room.
Be polite, please.
I'm being polite.
No, you're not.
You ought to see me when I'm
Not
not
with
being
you pointing your
polite.
finger at me like that. I don't
Rebecca?
appreciate the
Rebecca, would you
disrespect.
like to speak?
I have stated and I'll continue to state that I do support the 5% merit increase. That's what I said at the last workshop and I still feel that way.
Tony, you had your hand up.
Yeah, this is a workshop and it's not a meeting, and I thought it was a more casual conversation. And when someone asks a question and someone respectfully waits for a pause to answer it, I don't think that that's out of context or like speaking out of turn. It's a workshop. It should be a
Except when somebody's still
conversation.
talking.
She's
Oh,
talking.
hello, Pot.
Just like now, see?
Yeah,
So you
exactly.
don't
All right,
like
guys,
that.
come on, will you please?
Okay, so when you ask a question, Jerry, it might
Please
help.
don't
It might
direct to
have.
me. Talk to the
It's a
group.
workshop. It's not the same as a meeting. It's
I'm
a
asking you to
workshop.
not to direct your comments to me. You don't need to.
I am directing them
There
at
should be
you.
no reason to.
You asked a
Just state your
question.
opinion.
Please.
Good Lord, are we children? Okay,
That's
so
why you still ask.
Oh, for God's sake.
You're not interrupting. So, well, I thought we were supposed to be able to discuss stuff instead of gabbling.
We're not gonna interrupt each other, we're not gonna speak over each other.
We're trying to discuss this and talk through it.
no,
No,
you're
you're
being a
not.
hypocrite.
You're not
and
trying to
that's not
discuss
even.
anything.
Name calling again.
David?
Mayor and council, my objective in all this conversation, number one, it needs to be had. Number two, Mr. Russ, Councilor Russ is right. We can get somebody else, right? But the higher tenure for employee for this city is 7 years. The longest serving member of this city is, we had a couple of people to retire in the years past, but the longest serving tenure of anybody in this city right now is 7 years. That's unheard of in my experience. You know what I'm saying? You want people to stay here. You want people with historical knowledge. You want people, you know what I'm saying, that knows how to run the city and so forth, and is able to do succession plans, and able to train your staff, and have a stability for the city instead of having a rotating door like it is McDonald's, or some high school kids getting out of high school and you got a temporary job so you go to college or somewhere else. So that's what I'm trying to present to y'all, is a roadmap to build a puzzle, put together the puzzle of good qualified people who, you know, you want to make the city attractive place to come and work. Not a transitory place, but attractive place for citizens or somebody that want to come and work and they can be proud that I'm a employee of the city. You know, I've been here a month and a half now, and some people's like, "Oh, hey, you're still here! Congratulations!" You know what I'm saying? It's almost like it's a joke. A laughing stock to city managers, been evidently a revolving door. You know what I'm saying? I'll serve at the pleasure of the council. Obviously, I hope I'm able to stay here longer. That's my goal. But Right now, people are just laughing, hey, you made it a month and a half, man, you killing it, right? So, I'll say that, they say that jokingly, but seriously, you want your city to be, respectable, presentable, and you want good qualified people to stay here, so that's why I'm presenting.
Yes, Darcy.
And I will say that the Public Works Department, we expect them to be out in the rain. They were out in snowpocalypse. We expect them to be out anytime we call them. And I'm looking at 3 of our Public Works employees are the ones making $14 an hour. So I just wanted to put that out there. That is absolutely not okay.
These are basic new hires.
I don't
Laborers,
care.
are
They
not?
shouldn't be hired at $14. I can't believe they actually took the job at $14 an hour, and I'm thankful that they did. But, you know, I hope they're young and they don't have a family. We need to be paying people more than that. $14 an hour is not okay. I mean, you can go get hired on at Bill Miller in Hondo. I understand we're not in Hondo, but you can go get hired on at Bill Miller in Hondo for $15 an hour. Throwing brisket on a plate. We need to pay people more than $14 an hour.
Thank you. Tony?
I 100% agree with Darcy. Not only that, but our mission as a city is to provide utilities, and we rely on our utility department. And yes, we threw them an appreciation dinner, and you know, I don't think that's enough when you expect them to get out in the heat that we have, the rain, the level of sewage that they have to deal with on a daily basis. And they do it anyway, and they have their reasons for getting paid $14 an hour. Maybe it's, you know, the best job they've ever had, but should that be something we take advantage of? No. If they're trainable, let's train them. Let's, and I'm all for what David said, let's have this, you know, support them in their mission to be good stewards for the citizens of Bandera, providing a good product at a reasonable price, and giving them something to be prideful in, that they're proud to come to work and they're respected. And money's not everything, I get that, but I think that it's a hard day and age when everything, all the cost is going up, to raise yourself, much less a family. In our economy, this, I'm talking about our city alone, on $14,000, that equates to less than $30,000 a year.
Rebecca, I'd like to point out something briefly.
Certainly.
If you look on page 36, you will see that our budgeted revenue versus our budgeted expenses. Our budgeted revenue exceeds our expenses by $440,000. There's room in this budget, council, for you to
540?
do. No, we took up 100,000, remember?
Excuse me.
There's in this budget for you to do whatever you would want to do, and I know y'all don't like contingency funds. But in order to balance this budget, to move forward, this money could be put into a contingency for you to use for several things. We can make the transfer into the CIP for the streets, which is perfectly legal because it's an end-of-year expense. It's just going to go back in the general fund anyway. You can leave it in the contingency fund and rework, hash this out as long and hard as you want to, and then as soon as David comes up with this employee model, it can give you some information that you can make informed decisions on. That money is there. I'm just asking you respectfully, we could sit here and argue about the merits of this budget all we want to. We're at the end of the road. And if you just consider putting that money aside, or it's just an alternative. I'm just trying, we just can't sit here and keep arguing and discussing the same things over and over and expect to get to an answer. I think we've got a consensus pretty much of council's opinion, but that's just something to throw out. Rebecca.
Okay. So I was gonna say something very similar. We've asked the city administrator for a rate structure. We don't have a public works director, and they're the ones that are gonna be in charge of the salaries and the higher rates, and the rate of salary increases, and you know, we approve it ultimately, but I just think us sitting here and arguing about our opinions around it isn't really high value right now. And then the last thing I would ask is, what is your recommendation for this overage? A contingency fund?
What I would do is, on both the general fund and the utility fund, council, I would ask respectfully that you put it into a contingency fund that you control, that you get to dictate, not just as a slush fund in the general fund, but to form a contingency line that would have to come to you for expenditures. And from there, we would make budget amendments throughout the budget to take care of whatever it is that y'all feel you need to do. Darcy had her hand up first.
I was hoping for that.
I would like to, and I know we can go back and make an amendment, but I think we probably have a consensus here already, and that's what led us to all of this, but, with the salary, under, the utility fund, the 50-501-1000, where it was the 145, I would like to see it at least at, like 165 for now, and if we needed to up it more to try to get the 75,000, if we decided to do that as a whole later for the public works director, then up it more, but I think we need to at least do the 165 for now. That takes it just over what the current budget is for this year instead of it being under.
Jerry had her hand up.
I understand.
I just want to clarify and be more specific. Prior, when we first were talking about the salary increases, I stated if I was to consider any salary increases, it would be for public works. And I am in support of that because I do feel that $14 an hour for public works, and that's why I'm going to be more specific, is probably on the low side. And as far as the public works director, we're going to have to do what we have to do to get a good one. But, so just to clear it up a little bit, I'm not saying I would be against raises for public works, but I think we need a good salary survey and taking into consideration our local economy too, before we jump into handing out salaries to some of the others.
Thank you. May I make one quick question? All right, on page 33, we have the wastewater department. That salary is at $146,000. That's 1/4 of the total salary of the department. Do you want to raise that as well?
May I? 'Cause
Yes,
this
ma'am.
kind of speaks to what I was gonna suggest, and I understand your recommendation, Darcy, but I would also, and if you're comfortable with this suggestion as well, city treasurer and city administrator already said they were gonna rework everything and to validate that these numbers were correct, because we don't know why we budgeted so high the year before. So I don't necessarily wanna increase it if we don't need to increase it, but I think what we're all saying is we're willing to, if it needs to be, so can we just let them assess it and then come back with their final recommendation? I mean, does that sound legitimate to you? May I ask before I continue?
It sounds legitimate. I have real concerns.
Comment.
I just,
I'll stop myself there.
I have
I'm
a
not
solution.
done.
Oh, I'm sorry, Rebecca.
Because they're not, you got parks, streets, water, wastewater, those aren't even numbers, so it's not a quarter. I don't know what it is, but it's not equally distributed between the 4 departments, so that being one of the requests, and the other, we all, I think, agreed on changing the 616 line item to 12,000. So between those two things, the reassessment of the salaries.
What page is 616 on? I'm sorry.
28.
That was the wastewater, commercial sewer outside the city limits. That one line item?
Yeah.
On page 28.
Yeah.
So that was one correction that we had all agreed on, and the other that we kind of all agreed. I just don't know that I would feel comfortable changing it to a specific amount, Darcy, but rather asking them to reassess, reevaluate, make sure it's accurate, include the increase for the Public Works Department, and then the balance be put in the contingency fund. So we can get through this. And again, like we're all aware, if we need to come back with an adjustment after the full salary scale is established, then we can do that.
May I comment? We didn't over budget. We didn't have a public works director or an administrator for a great deal of this time. That's why those salaries are not.
But that does not answer the
I
question that
know
we've
it
been
doesn't, but I'm just
addressing.
saying there is justification. Tony?
No, ma'am. Yeah. You're
So in addition to
misunderstanding.
what I heard, Rebecca, like the 12,000, I mean, I think that we need to give David some sort of budget so that he can continue his interviews until we get the other things. So I think we all agreed that we felt comfortable increasing the Department of Public Works salary to 75,000 per the up to 75,000 per the recommendation of David. If we can get somebody lower, then obviously that. And then, because with their certifications, it's actually gonna be 78. And then I would recommend taking the actual, all of the positions that we have and their base out, you know, whether they're filled or not. So in the public works, we have 8 positions. You know, if we don't have them all filled, then you take that hourly salary that they currently are budgeted for, multiply it by 2080, multiply it by 5%, and that should be our budget going forward. And then based on the review that we get, if we need to adjust that, then we need to do it. Because every year we talk about doing it, and something happens and it doesn't get done. And so I'm not saying we're not gonna do the survey, I'm saying that the budget itself, I mean, we're here to do a job, and I think that we're all saying that, and that we all agree that whatever positions that we have allocated, that people know they can hire to, we know what that current salary is. Multiply it by 5%, increase it in here, divvy it up, put pie pieces wherever you need to put them. But when you put all that whole pie back together, it should equal the hourly salary times the approved positions that we have times 5%, and that should be our increase. And we're increasing Department of Public Works to 75,000 plus certifications. That has not changed. And then one thing I noticed is that we discussed on the rate schedule that we all kind of seemed like we were in agreement that we were not going to charge for a parade, or we were going to charge everybody for a parade. And the $100 parade fee is still on the rate schedule. So if y'all approve that, then we talked about it, but it never got, I don't think we gave exact direction on whether or not to remove it or whatever, but the $100 parade thing is still on there, and I just think it's pointless at this point.
Jerry?
Do we need to actually raise the base pay to 75, or can we just set a new range, say 65, because maybe he'll luck out and he'll find somebody that'll take it for less if he negotiates well?
I said up to 75.
Oh, okay.
So we budget for that.
So we
Budget
say
for
65 up to 75.
We're not setting the range, we're just setting
Okay.
the budget, which would need to be set at the max rate.
Okay.
Do you guys understand where council is going, and we've got to
Yes, ma'am.
hit that hard and get those numbers, and I'd like to get them out tomorrow by 2 o'clock so council can review it with questions before Thursday.
Thank you. Yes.
Yes,
So
Tony?
my last, regarding the budget and the meeting that we're going to approve these changes. I'm not listed on any of the paperwork that we got for our,
Those are drafts, Tony.
again,
You'll-
that's the reason I'm bringing it up.
It is the same thing from last year.
No.
No,
What are y'all
I wasn't
talking
on, I
about?
wasn't on last year, and Darcy was, and she's listed there as a yay, and I'm not on the
It's
list at all.
because you're not supposed to be at the meeting, because they assume you're not gonna be able to be there Thursday morning.
I know, but it doesn't mean that I
We'll get it
shouldn't be
fixed.
on the list.
I
We'll
don't
get
know
it
what
fixed.
we're talking about.
We're talking
The
about
draft
budget
ordinances.
workshops and what we're going to approve going forward,
Right.
and that has to do with that.
The list?
That's a correction we can make, not to worry.
Forget it, I'm good. I believe in
She's-
you.
Yeah,
She's
you can
correct.
be all flippant you want to, but it's,
I'm not. I
Okay.
just don't, I really don't know what you're talking about.
I'm sorry, I misunderstood with the giggling.
Please,
Sorry, you misunderstood.
Jill, we need to get that fixed.
It was the draft ordinance.
I was simply asking the question was that intended, because it is not believed that I'm going to be there,
I
because
don't
I do
believe
not
so.
know if it is or not. Thank you.
Good? Good. Good. David,
Yes, ma'am. I was wondering if the, council wanted me to actually go out and have a company do a salary survey with the sale, all of the ranges, since I'm in the mix and in the equation, you know what I'm saying? So it'd be unbiased, or would y'all,
I'll do it.
right?
So,
Um,
I
I
really,
couldn't hear that real
Tony?
well, that last part, I'm
My
sorry.
question was, would the council consider me having a company come in and look at the city, the different positions, and them doing a salary survey for this region, and recommending a salary range for each position for the city, since I'm kinda in the equation of everything this involves?
It's a fair thing, but,
what is it?
I would like to say.
I had my hand
Oh, I
up
don't
long
know.
before David
She
spoke.
pointed it
Okay, Tony?
So I was going to respond that the HR review that we gave, I thought that was part of it, that we were supposed to be getting some sort of, it doesn't mean we didn't get it, it doesn't, but I think we should have the conversation with the gentleman that we contracted and ask him if that was part of his deliverable, because I don't think that what he gave, I think he was expecting some feedback and maybe there's a part two. And if that's something that we hired him to do and that he can do for us, then I think we've already spent that money, and I think what David's suggesting is that would be a good start.
I did pass that on to David so he'd have it to have a look at as he was going into his own salary review. Jerry?
I would agree with that. I think that's a good strategy. To utilize just what Tony said, if whatever's available already, and, but looking at a company to do that, I think is a great idea.
Rebecca?
I feel like I heard somebody say that they knew someone at a city that had just done this, and I can't remember, so maybe we have that resource. I don't remember where that came from, but I feel like I heard that somewhere,
It
so
was
anyway,
David
but
in
yes.
his interview, but okay.
Oh, was it? Thank you,
Yeah.
you guys.
I have a salary survey,
Okay,
yes.
but it doesn't
it's-
include the city.
Correct,
Okay.
don't include the city, it's not, this region specific, and it don't have a salary, scale range.
Scale, okay.
So if you wanna drill down to Bandera proper and Bandera County and so forth, and want a non-biased, professional, all encompassing look on everything, then that's the question I have. I can do one, I've done one before, just like I didn't false represent myself. I got one in the computer right there right now, but it's a different city and it's different dynamics.
Gotcha.
So,
Thank you.
Jerry?
Yeah, I think that'd take the burden off of you, Tim, if we had a company that assisted you or performed it for you.
Darcy?
actually I have a couple things. So, since you've done them before, you understand, I'm sure, and I've been through quite a few of them. And as an employee, I hate them because they never truly understand what you do as a person, as an employee. So, I would, just ask that one, that we go out for bids and see, what they would charge for them first. But also that we consider that if we do go with them, because it's a good idea that we do go with them, I would agree with that. But we also consider the people behind them too, because the company doesn't get a look at what our actual people do. Not the individual necessarily, because you don't want to put that bias in there, but they don't get the full picture when a company just comes in and kind of, okay, what do you do? Or send us an email like they're doing through COVID. That's what they just did in Medina County. Send an email and tell us what your staff does and tell us what you do. And that's how they did our salary survey. So you don't get a full picture of what people actually do. So.
Tony?
And I think it's been, we've worked really hard for the last 4 or 5 years to get people that are, work, especially in City Hall, that can back each other up when they're on vacation and, not be one deep, and that they can last for a week, somebody can go on vacation or out for something. So I agree with what Darcy says. And then, anytime you get a consultant, unless you see the product of their work, you can go out and get bids and they can tell you their big marketing flair, but what you actually get as a return on investment, I don't always, it's gonna be difficult. It's gonna be difficult to find your apples and oranges, so, anyway.
Rebecca?
Would you entertain the motion to adjourn?
I would.
So moved.
Thank you, Rebecca. Darcy?
But my dogs are hungry.
Discussion? Okay, all in favor? Ayes, council.
Just kidding.